right, so welcome everyone to the live stream number 9. We've done this for 9 weeks in a row and we can't be more happy than this. So welcome to the show, everyone. And we are super excited to introduce our session this week, where we're going to talk about grounding practices. And for anyone who's not heard what a grounding practice is, don't worry, we're going to explain it. We're going to talk through the whole thing. But please say a big hello to Oliver and Lorian for, and a big thank you for being able to join us back on this session this Wednesday. So I hope you have your questions ready. And I hope you remember our email. If you have anything you'd like to send in, it's connect@conscious-together.com. So with that being said, let's throw the first question out to the two gentlemen. The first thing that came up to our mind, I think this came as a question that arose from our conversation last week in live stream 8, where we were talking about how in our relationships, we could have some good and not so good conversations, situations, and one sort of tool that would always help us would be to be grounding ourselves. Now, while a lot of us people who meditate and who indulge in these activities around mindfulness and meditation find it really easy to understand the principle of grounding. However, for anyone who's stepping in new, for anyone who's never done this before, I think we owe a slight definition, an explanation about what it is. And so the first question for today is, what is the practice of grounding? Who would like to go first?
Will I start today? Yeah. Okay. So, grounding is for me an essential process of stepping back into the moment and out of the noise of the head. So it really is, it's got that sort of earthy connotation, rooting yourself back into the present moment, and a lot of grounding practices use a very sort of earthy language. And as we did with the practice last week, we focus on the feet, or we can focus on the feet. There's plenty of other modalities that may be used, but the feet are a very reliable anchor in that respect. And you may get references in the guiding instructions around feeling connected to the earth, feeling rooted back to the present and the moment of now. So grounding is simply that stepping out of the noise of your mind, where it's taking you forward into some sort of chaotic future or dragging you back into the quagmire of your past, and allowing you to reconnect with what's actually in front of you so that you can take a more discerning action if necessary. I think that's snapshot.
Yeah, thank you, Lorraine, for the definition, and Avanti, thank you for the opening. Yes, it reminded me a medical or neuroscience term called default mode network. At the default mode network, by the name, you probably would think, okay, this is something when the machine is not operating, it's just staying there static. But the mind is kind of just opposite. By this neuroscience term, it means the resting mode, or when the mind is not working on something, like not focusing on something. Right? It is good if it is really resting, but in actuality, it's just like the bottom of the sea. So there is very strong current over there, every direction, each part of the brain maybe trying to connect with each other randomly, all in all, it doesn't rest at all. It's not resting at all, right? It's just going wild, right? Back to our mindfulness term of autopilot. I think that is the neuroscience. If you look at it through the neuroscience scientist eye, that's how it is. It also remind me a friend of mine. I think he was talking to me like this thing almost like 15 years ago. Yeah, it was a long time. He said he's American. He said I was trying to settle myself down, but I could never do it. So even more, when you try this, it becomes even harder. In traditional meditation, there is also an interesting term. It's called monkey and horse mind. I know in English we say monkey mind. It's just jump, right? If we don't look at it, it doesn't mean the monkey is not jumping or the monkeys are not jumping. They are. You just didn't notice. But when we try to settle down, we will try to ground, and then we find it's really this is a mountain full of monkeys, so they're jumping. So to ground, I guess to most people is to let the monkeys settle, not jumping. Yeah, we can think it that way, but of course the real practice has some technique, is kind of paradox, right? The more you want to set it down, the more it looks like it doesn't. So, but anyways, grounding itself, it's something we all want to be, like calm, feel like Laureen mentioned, be at the right moment, right? Know where we are, and back to the present. I think grounding by definition can be that. I just reminded me that to be grounded for most people, if you're not trained, you don't know the right skills, it's going to be very hard. And also lots of people have expectations. Is okay, let me just sit down and calm down and it will work, but in many cases doesn't. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think I really enjoyed the ease with which, like Lorian said, just bringing your attention down to the feet. It's a very simple practice, but quite hard to do, like you mentioned, Oliver. But I think what is important to realize is that we always have these tools with us. So bringing, and of course we'll have a demonstration of an example of grounding soon. So I'm looking forward to that, Oliver. But I think it is important to note that we are able to do this every time we have a situation that feels overwhelming. And please correct me if I'm wrong, it could be both a happy situation or an unhappy one. It could be an anxiety-ridden situation, or it could be an extreme dispassionate one where we don't want to do anything, or we're having this, like we say, the couch day, where we just want to wear our elasticated trousers and stay in all day watching Netflix 24/7. The idea to bring grounding into our toolkit is being able to say, bringing our energies, bringing our minds back to the current moment to get us into action, into what we want to do. That is how I understand it, if that makes sense. Right, but thank you so much. Mm-hmm. When I say, another question pops up before we go into the meditation. How does grounding work in terms of the chemistry? Or you talked about the default mode network, Oliver. Mm-hmm. However, that refers to mind wandering. But what is it, that piece of energy that helps us ground better? How would we answer that?
So I think first of all, for anyone who wants to be grounded, we just better manage our expectation, right? Again, many people, without understanding the true mechanism that how our brains or how our mind works, would expect, okay, I'm in control of my mind, just like I'm in control of my body. Is that true? Maybe not, right? Even the body, you may have the impression, okay, if I want to walk, and then I walk, but there are times this, it's so normal, you got so used to it, you have an impression that you are in control. But even the body, actually, we're not. But the mind is even more so. So manage the expectation. Again, back to that friend who has talked to me. By then, I was almost the same. Of course, I spent this almost 15 years study different kind of skills and theories. Lots of them worked. I know this in our mindfulness training, we more look at more basic or those that work more immediately. That's good too. That's probably also the practice we're going to do today. Yeah, it does. However, if, of course, you keep training, even to keep an passion or keep this practice going, needs some kind of, I'd say, confidence, right? So why it works, right? Today is we're all, I think lots of us or most of us went through the modern education in university. We're also so used to those theories. Right? We have to be told why it works, and I think study those theories while we're doing the practice. Do that same time, and then over time, don't expect it works immediately. But one thing is sure, even if you just keep practice for like a week, maybe the better way is to more than 8 weeks. It becomes some kind of habit, and you also have time to receive these benefits, and you see the delta, you see the changes to the positive direction, to the right direction. And then that's also another way to keep confidence. Anyways, maybe I'm a little off the topic, but I think there are, don't expect immediate one shot, and then it works perfectly, and the world becomes bright, and here's light. You see everything. Even if there is some light already, you don't really notice, because just our mind is still wandering so much and back to the default network mode. So I think the first thing, very important thing, is to manage the expectation.
Thank you, Oliver.
I think for me, the reason it works, or how it works, is by reconnecting us to the body, and that is the essence of this concept of grounding. Although, as I said earlier, sometimes we talk about rooting ourselves into the earth and the sort of the wider body of which we're a part. So when we are feeling out of control, it is often purely in our minds, or it is almost always purely in our minds, right? We're lost to the chaos of our thoughts, and it's that noise, that storm that's going on in our mind, dragging us into the future and all the many hundreds of things that we feel we have to get done at some point in the future, or looking at all the hundreds of potential problems or challenges that face us in our lives, or whether it's the mind dragging us back into the past and ruminating on personal challenges and tragedy from the past that we feel bad about, guilty about, horrible about, whatever that might be. So it works by bringing us back to the body and a part of the body in which we feel safe, because there's a whole topic on trauma sensitive mindfulness that I guess we haven't really spent a lot of time focusing on, I don't think, since we've started this series. So that's probably something that we should explore, maybe as a tangent to this exercise on grounding, or something worth exploring in the future anyway. But bringing ourselves back to a secure anchor in the body takes us out of the storm of the thoughts, the chaos of the mind, and allows us the opportunity to mentally breathe. And that might be with some physical breathing practices as well in conjunction, but giving us that mental breathing space so that we can just rebalance ourselves and begin again.
Absolutely.
And I think that's...
Yeah. And I think two slightly different perspectives, but still bringing attention to the fact that our minds are quite volatile and we cannot always believe what we think. And so to use the support of our bodies to find a way to root ourselves. And it might not be easy, that it may not work immediately, that it will take time, but to keep trying it over a period of time will give us some respite. This is a fantastic conversation, and I can't wait to ask more questions, but I know we have a practice coming up. So Oliver, I'm going to hand this next practice over to you. Please take the lead.
Okay, thank you. I think this is not one of the practice that's within either MBSR or MBCT. So we're just gonna either invent or make a combination of different type of practices. Okay, let's first start with, if you're sitting, by sitting straight, lean. If you're on a chair, lean forward a little bit so that your spine can support itself. Okay, see if our feet is on the ground. If that's on the ground, try feel the sole of the feet touching the floor. Or you may be sitting cross-legged on a cushion or chair. So same thing, either focus on the 2 feet or whichever part of the body that touch the chair or cushion. If just after a couple of seconds, your mind started to wander, that's totally fine. You actually need to congratulate yourself, because by the moment you have found your mind is wandering, you've succeeded. Okay, as soon as you notice that, bring it back, bring the attention back to the body, to 2 feet, or to the body parts that touch the cushion or chair. So grounding practice is all about noticing the mind is wandering, or maybe emotions is generating. Notice that and then gently bring it back to wherever we're focusing. So focusing on the body is one of the most best way, because wherever we go, we bring our body with us. Traditionally, there are other objects that you can focus on too. Maybe a little rock or a stick in front of you. At one time, there was a traditional meditation master. When he was leading, he also asked people to focus on anything that you feel more comfortable with. There could be a cross, if you're Christian, or a Buddha statue, or as I said, it could be any objects that's in front of you. It could be a spot on the wall or on a piece of paper. Similarly, when you try to focus, your mind could wandering. It's very natural. It's how our mind works. There's no reason for any concern or blaming for failure to focus. Remember, the practice itself is just to notice the mind wandering and bring it back. As you practice, you can choose your preferred anchor. Many people choose the 2 feet. Or sometimes it's the breath. In the traditional meditation or traditional Qigong, so there's a point about 3 inches down the navel. That is an anchor for many practitioners also. Choose the one that's most comfortable for you. So mind wandering and then bring back. Wandering and bring back. It's also important to keep the practice back. If you are really a beginner, maybe just start from a couple of minutes, not more than 10. or you can stop one session and then start another one when you feel comfortable. Try not to do long ones. Try not to expect you get calmed down or grounded just within one session. It is so normal. Every practitioner starts with this mind wandering. Okay, if we can, it's coming to an end of this short meditation. You can open your eyes now if they're closed. Thank you very much for practicing together.
Thanks, Oliver.
Thank you, Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much power in sitting still, and then to follow the directions. It's today I was feeling a little bit wobbly, though, a little bit restless.
I think that's an interesting point. It is actually how hard it is just sitting still. And that's the challenge for so many, particularly here in the West, with meditation, isn't it? Is thus just the stopping is the hardest part.
It is. And I think we have to find, I mean, that is something we should talk about, to incrementally possibly find ways to stop ourselves and sit still. I mean, that is something we should potentially look at building a habit, and help others build a habit around. But I mean, going back to the whole grounding principles, I mean, we've spoken about why and how it works, so to say, but maybe also giving our viewers some ideas about how to be grounding ourselves. What physical actions can they make, or changes can they make, which will help them ground better? If they don't have a meditation teacher like you both or me, is it still possible to ground themselves? Like you were mentioning, Lauren, in the supermarket, waiting for the cashier to free themselves up. That could be one of the most frustrating waits, to be honest. And so what are some things that we can offer to our viewers as tools for grounding?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, and I'm so passionate about the fact that mindfulness is a skill that you can take anywhere, and it has to be a skill that you take anywhere, otherwise it doesn't work. There's no point in feeling calm and composed wherever you're meditating if you can't translate that into the real world around you, the world of work, the world of your family, the world of the supermarket, the traffic jam, etc. So, and I mean, as Oliver said, it is definitely a skill that you want to build up. Just like any other skill, it requires practice and repetition. But if you can instill the discipline in yourself to simply focus on one thing, and that can be the breath, the hands, the feet, as Oliver mentioned, some external object of any variety, anything that you feel happy focusing your attention on. That might be a candle, it might be preferably not your mobile phone, but technically it could be your mobile phone. Probably not. Probably not the best thing to have. Yes, off. Yeah, your off mobile phone.
When they are off.
and just pay attention to it, and we'll do some of that in the later practice today. And I'm planning on doing the hands, so hopefully that'll shed some light on how that experience might be. And it's not overthinking it, and that's the challenging part. When we're learning something, our conscious self, our monkey brain, is trying desperately to figure things out and to make sure it's doing things properly. And that's the sort of the seat of our anxiety and our neurosis, is this desperation to be right, to be perfect. And the more we try and do that, as I think Oliver was talking about in his earlier discussion around the grounding practice, the harder it becomes. So it's having that sort of gentle, relaxed repetitive effort towards a single focal object. So yeah, if you don't have access to a mindfulness teacher or a meditation app or anything else to help you develop your skill, and you want to try doing it on your own, then something simple like that, I think, would be a great place to start.
Thank you, Lawrence. I'd like to share a little bit also. Yeah, I want to mention an interesting topic, that if somebody does not have a teacher, I think in general for these kind of things, there are things which is very hard for self-taught. And mindfulness or meditation is one of them, right? I know martial arts is definitely, I tried this Tai Chi, and you look at the books and all those. Well, of course, we can start with our own investigation. This, again, that was really the path I've gone through. It was interesting for today's people. I wonder if I'm alone, but it's hard to trust someone, especially as your teacher, right? You're trying to find a teacher. Maybe like today, when you try to find the university you want to go to, you also need some investigation, right? Is this the one that right fit you, or is he or she really good, and all these? That's fine. That's fine. There is enough, plenty of resources, internet, books. You can start to read that or talk to other people. What's there. Well, mentioning people, that's already kind of a teacher. Because I found that it's really when someone that's really has that kind of skill or very skillful, again, like martial arts, if that's a great master, his move or his way of fighting or practicing give you the impression, sometimes it's even not expressible. You just feel, okay, I need to do this. I like to do this also. So that's it. It is highly recommended that you start, if anyone wants to practice seriously, try find the teacher that fits you. I think a teacher is very very important. What else? Yeah, maybe go ahead, Avanti.
I just wanted to say, I think this is a very important topic to talk about. When we talk about meditation teachers, it is important to, and I would like to confirm this and sort of reiterate this just for the sake of saying that we may not be physicians or medically certified people, but what we have done is hours of meditation practice. We have learned how to teach people how best they should meditate, to recognize conditions that might not be suitable for meditation. And that is the kind of person, if not an even more established meditation teacher, that you must seek. When we do at-home practices, it's a great start, just to quench your interest and your thirst for, the curious minds that we are at. However, if you want to deepen your practice, you want to make sure that your practice aligns with the condition of your body, with your health overall, and it is the right way forward, you must meet a meditation teacher or a person who will sit with you and understand your concerns before suggesting certain practices with you. So thank you, Oliver, for bringing that out.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think quickly going back to where, with grounding practices, for me, something that works every time, at least for a brief few minutes, is washing my hands in cold water or splashing my face with cold water. If I'm having a long day in front of my computer and I need to do some really heavy, busy work and deep, complex work, then it just helps every hour to get up, just splash some water on my face, really cold, But what that does is it really brings my attention back into the nerves in my hands or on my face. So that attunes my attention, and then I'm able to go back to more complicated work patterns.
Yeah,
Well.
You remind me something on the question of how to be grounded or how to practice. I think you invented a very good practice called contemplation, right? Contemplating. I think in multiple times I mentioned the view, right? Talking about mindfulness, it's actually part of the eight fold noble path. One of the most important one is actually the right view, right? In many cases, we do have this right view. It's almost very, very common to everyone. For example, there's a very, it's maybe a Buddhism verse, I forgot. It doesn't have to be Buddhism at all, because it says, we worry about things, we worry about the future and the past, right? The verse goes like, the past has already passed, right? Even if you worry, it won't come back. We already passed it. The future is not here yet. No matter how much you worry, it's not here yet. It's not real. This doesn't have to be any Buddhism religion. Everybody understand it. However, the distance in between that I learned this verse, learned this statement, this saying, then when something is in front of me, right? You're in a queue in the general consulate or supermarket. Yeah. It's not in front of you. It's not your skill. So the distance in between, I think it starts from the contemplation, right? Yeah. Think about why this saying makes sense, right? Or when sometimes there is something in front of me, how can I apply this? I think contemplation is one of the best practice also. I know we start with focusing with paying attention to body parts, or like you said, Avanti, we use certain cold water. That also works. It's part of that practice, right? Actual practice, but the contemplation to make sure that it works, or why it works, is very much the foundation also, right? Mentioning that the general consulate, one time I was in the Los Angeles Chinese general consulate. There was a lady behind me. I think for about 15 minutes, she never stopped talking or moving, because she was watching, hey, see, this line is shorter. Maybe I should stand in that one. And then, hey, that window, I think that window should open. Maybe it's going to be open very soon. And then actually one of the window actually opened. There was nobody there. I think she was so much focusing on talking and moving in between lines. She wasn't even the first one to go to that line. So there was one gentleman, then followed by myself. I think I was much more grounded, so I was able to.
That's a good case for keeping grounded.
And later I called her, hey, I think so this one shorter, come over. Anyways, yeah. The reason I'm mentioning this example is, I think by culture, like she was so trained that, hey, I need to catch the fastest or shortest line, right? And let's keep calculating. That was kind of culture too, because maybe everyone else was trying to do that, right? Where she grew up. So that also why the reason that the contemplation is important. You have to root or plant this thing, right? Root in the mind, and then it started to grow, and it will help on the actual practice, right? The analytical or the contemplation versus the the actual practice. Right? Do them both.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think I want to just say that there are a lot of times that I act like that lady. So we're not perfect, but I think just being aware of our urges, to try and get the best deal or to make best of our time could get into decent anxiety working up against us. And to give credit, I must say, the contemplation was not invented by me, though I would have loved to have taken credit for it.
Please invent.
Yes, but the greats like John Kabat-Zinn, Mark Williams, they all do contemplations. And, the beauty is being able to manage that in between sitting down, staying still, and meditating. Contemplation, like you're saying, is creating that foundation, helping us to prepare ourselves to sit down for a longer period. So I am all up for contemplation. So I completely agree with you. Yes. Lauren, you've been quiet for a few minutes.
I've been too quiet. It's causing me anguish.
You must be contemplating.
Yeah, I was contemplating very hard, and being mindful of that too. Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that sort of the quality of introspective inquiry into the mind. What are these thoughts? And I suppose that's a key element once you are paying attention and noticing how easily the mind is distracted, and you can then look for themes to the thoughts and the distractions and see if there are patterns which you can then start to challenge and start to work on. Is this true? And this is at the essence of cognitive behavioral therapy and cognitive behavioral focused mindfulness, MBCT, is that ability to notice the thoughts and then have the opportunity to challenge them. Is this true? Is this a thought that I want to follow if I'm being discerning? So it's absolutely right that we bring the lens of examination and inquiry to ourselves and our practice, and see what happens. So yeah, I'm with you guys there.
Fantastic. And I think, yes, I think this is a natural sort of completion to what we had in terms of thoughts about grounding practice. I think doing another practice with you, Lauren, will be a good way to sort of cement this, if that is what practice you're going to be doing. I think you mentioned you will.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Let's go ahead and do this practice. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. So yeah, everybody, just if you want to join us in this practice, please do so, but there is no pressure as always. If this doesn't feel right for you, just watch and listen. But if you would like to take part, then please do so. And the invitation is to perform it sitting, if that's comfortable for you, in a posture that works for your body. But if you would rather, or either by preference or necessity, perform either lying down or even standing up, that is perfectly agreeable also. So if you want to, just let the eyes gently close and take a simple breath just to settle the attention and allow the attention to come to the palm of your left hand. And you can hold your left hand wherever you want to. It might sit in your lap, face up, rest on your belly or your chest. You might choose to elevate it slightly in the air if that's comfortable to do so. And simply become aware of all of the sensations and experiences that you notice in the hand itself. You might notice the sense of pressure, a sense of air flowing around the palm, the back of the hand, between the fingers. There might be some tingling sensation in parts of the hand. And there might be part of the hands, the fingers, where there is little or no sensation that's immediately obvious. You're connecting with the experience around and within the hand as best you can. So taking a moment to feel the quality of this experience from the inside out. The hand is one of our primary means of interacting and sensing the world around us. It's quite possibly alive with sensation. And simply take some time to explore those sensations as they appear in consciousness. You might have a sense of the fingers, or perhaps they have dissolved into a pattern of simple sensation. And if you've been distracted by a thought, just note the thought, where it's taking you, whether it's a thought that's useful in this moment, and then come back to the sensations in the hand itself. Begin again. See if you can let go of the thought labels and the descriptive phrases that our minds use to describe the experience to ourselves and to others. And simply rest and be present with the direct pattern of experience. How does this actually present itself in consciousness? And perhaps notice what happens in the mind and how the mind feels when your conscious attention is on the felt direct experience of the hand itself. Is there anything that needs to change? Would this really be better if it was another way? Or is this experience okay, just as it is? And perhaps now breathe into this space as well. So breathing into the space of the hand. Noting as you breathe in and out, how the changes in sensation appear in consciousness. observe the mind and the quality of any thoughts that are bouncing around. Perhaps the mind is quieter, perhaps not. And check in with the feeling tone of this experience. Whether it's a pleasant, an unpleasant, or a neutral experience. And just taking one last breath into the space of the hand. And if you wish to, just thanking yourself for taking the time to dedicate to this practice, to pay attention to this moment. And whenever you're ready, just gently opening the eyes, coming back, having a little stretch if you wish to, having a little drink if that feels necessary or appropriate. And take a moment as you gather yourself to simply reflect on how this practice was for you. This is a simple mindful inquiry, and there's no answer you need to find. Perhaps it was intuitive and comfortable and felt natural. Perhaps it was challenging and frustrating. Perhaps the mind was busy. Perhaps it's stilled. Perhaps you didn't notice much at all. Taking the time to have this check back can help us deepen the richness of our practice and can help us develop our mindful skill. So just take a moment to consider that. And there's no right or wrong, and there's no need to share if you don't wish to. Comments below. But yeah, that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Laura. It was a really good practice. Thank you. I really needed it today. Yes, and I think I just heard the door behind me shut close. So I hope you haven't heard it, or if you have, and that's part of the mindfulness practice, that we stay equanimous in all situations. But we do hope that you have enjoyed this discussion about grounding, about becoming aware of our own bodies and how our bodies can anchor our mind in, because it is literally the breath that runs through both our body and mind. So if we are able to manage our breath, mind our breath, then we can also mind our minds. And on that note, we wish you all a fantastic week ahead. We're going to summer here in Stockholm. It's scorching hot sometimes, but a great practice for being mindful and grateful for the sun.
Can I just add one thing? You reminded me.
Yes.
Mindfulness practice is not a stage, right? It's not, we go on a stage and we're actors, actresses and play our role. It's real life. I think yesterday's live, I did talk about this a lot. Even like now, you probably have heard my phone rang. I was supposed to turn it off, but I forgot. You heard the bell at Chow. My daughter is over in there using that electrical board. And there are airplanes going on and helicopters and birds too. It's real life. I think that's the beauty of mindfulness practice also, because all these things, instead of being like the elements of disturbance, but they are the tool of practice, right? They are the practice itself, right? The band of door included. Any of these, we can use that and as a means of practice. Anyways, back to you.
Yes. No, and if you'd like to say our goodbye note, Oliver, Can you help us shop?
Sure. Thank you everyone for watching, no matter live or later on the recorded video. Don't forget to like, forward, turn on the alert. What else? And share, right?
Like, subscribe, share. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Spread mindfulness and spread the happiness, spread the benefit to everyone, to the world. And what?
No,
Bye-bye.
That's a great way to end. Thank you, everyone, for your attention and time with us. Have a fantastic week ahead. See you next week.